All right, let's bring in Patrick Hedger, Executive Director of the Taxpayer Protection Alliance. Patrick, there is a shortage in home heating oil right now. So rather than increase supply, the Biden administration announces $13 billion in additional spending to help people pay for their energy bills. What do you make of this plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Biden administration seems to be pursuing what I would call the paper straw of energy policy. It's falling apart on them real quick. This is an unsustainable path that the administration's on. When you introduce this kind of new spending in an inflationary environment, all you're going to do is end up driving prices higher. They're not doing anything to address the underlying problem, which is the lack of supply. And this administration is primarily responsible for that. It has pursued an antagonistic policy to oil and gas since day one, from canceling the Keystone XL pipeline to rolling back a lot of the regulatory reforms that the Trump administration put in place. Oil and gas companies have absolutely no confidence in this administration, and we're seeing that reflected in the global markets.
Yeah, this sounds like this falls under Reagan's terrifying words, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Because like you said, I mean, inflation is so hot right now. And what will an additional $13 billion in spending do when we're in this inflationary cycle? And what do you think Jerome Powell's thinking right now? Because this announcement was made on the same day that he raised rates yet again to try and combat inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the administration and the White House, the administration and the Fed seem to be at odds with one another. It's completely unsustainable path that we're on. And $13 billion, really, when we're talking about the federal government, it's a drop in the bucket, but it's not helping. The administration is not doing anything that is sustainably going to tell oil and gas traders that the price is going to come down, that the price of producing in the United States or in other stable countries is going to come down. They're not doing anything to increase fracking. They're not doing anything about the onerous EPA regulations, or even now have SEC regulations that are being promulgated to talk about climate-related policy and that are inhibiting oil and gas investment. The administration is not doing anything that in the long term is telling oil and gas producers it's going to become more affordable to produce in stable countries like the United States. And so you're going to see that global markets reflect that, and the price of oil is going to remain high.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a vicious cycle. You give people more money to pay their bills because they're high. It's going to increase the price of those bills, making it even more difficult for them to pay them down the road. The president is also at war with energy companies, and he's saying that he's threatening this additional tax on their profits because he's saying they're making too much money off of high gas prices. Is that true, and what do you make of that plan?
Yeah, I mean, that plan is totally ridiculous. It doesn't reflect the reality of energy markets, which is that oil is traded on a global scale and that these companies don't have the ability to set the prices themselves. It's set by commodities traders. And so the commodities traders are looking at the long-term policies of the Biden administration, which is, again, antagonistic to oil and gas. Day one, he cancels the Keystone XL pipeline. And so people are seeing the long-term trends, not what the administration is doing for gimmicks before to try and win an election. So the price is going to remain high until there is a sustained long-term change in the administration's policies. And I have a feeling right after the election, you're going to see the administration go back to its original policies of trying to reduce oil and gas production in the United States. So what they're doing right now to try and win a couple votes at the margins here is not going to actually help anybody.
When do you think inflation is going to go down to normal levels? Because this is the number one concern on everyone's mind right now.
Yeah, the problem with inflation, right, is it's a very much so a psychological problem as well. The administration continues to pursue policies that people expect will cause inflation. So you get this vicious cycle where the administration continues to spend and spend and spend, and that's causing people to raise prices in anticipation of what they expect to have, which is additional inflation. So until the administration, until Congress is able to rein in spending, right, you're going to continue to have inflationary pressures. We've seen record levels of federal spending, and until the government makes a significant commitment to reducing spending, you're not going to see folks begin to reduce prices or reduce price increases that will control inflation.
The president's also going to be out there talking about student loan debt relief later today, which is another billions of dollars of spending that is not needed right now. Patrick Hedger, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.